Hello everyone and welcome back to E2E. Today we are going to get started on the advanced rocketry quest tree and try to get as much of that done as possible. So let's go ahead and take a look at the quest tree, and as you can probably see, there have been some things that have been completed already. I went to record the beginning of this episode already once, and it turns out my mic was not getting picked up, so we have done a couple things. So let's just go ahead and run through them real quick. The first one was we had to unlock the gate for this mod, which was just simply crafting a machine structure. And all these take is a iron shaft, which I can make in a metal former, a signalum cell frame, which we have automated 2 episodes ago, and then we have elite plating. Now, elite plating is the hardest piece here, mostly because it requires crystal binder. The boron ingots are fine. We have plenty of those. The DU plating, we need uranium-238, sulfur, and advanced plating. We have a pattern for this. We're growing silver seeds, and U-238 comes from our nuclear crafted building, so no worries there. Just set up a simple pattern for DU plating. Now, the crystal binder is the hard part. Pulverized obsidian, that's just fine. Magnesium dust, that's just fine. Calcium sulfate, that's the thing we had to automate a couple episodes ago because I knew it was going to be super annoying. So we have about 7,000 of that, so no worry there. And then last, crushed rhodochrosite. Now, there's 2 ways to get this. The first one is to crush granite, or you crush rhodochrosite. And the way you get this rhodochrosite is by putting a ruby in the atomic reconstructor. Now, we also set up automation for all of these biomes of plenty gems, specifically to make sapphires so we could make the palace crystals. But as a byproduct, we have rubies, so that is what we opted for. And then we were able to make the machine structures. That unlocked the gate, which led us down to advanced rocketry. The first thing in here is the hollow projector. This is a neat little thing that lets you basically view how to build the multi-blocks from this mod. Very convenient, and we got one out of a loot box at some point, so I just had to go ahead and pick that up. The next thing over here is titanium. Titanium we have made last episode in the thermoionic fabricator with liquid chlorine, magnesium, salt, and carbon plate. And the last thing is coils and motors. So the multi-block machines from this mod use coils, motors, or both, and there are several tiers of each. Each one gets more expensive, but the machines work faster, and any machine will accept any of them. Those are all the quests that we have done. The next thing we were starting to work on was the precision assembler. This is the first machine that you're supposed to make because it is recommended to make this as soon as possible as it cuts the cost of other machines, and that is exactly what we want. So the things that I have made so far are going to be the machine structures. We have a pattern for those. That's not too bad. And I also went ahead and grabbed the 2 pieces of glass that we need, and I also made titanium coils. I'm not really sure which coil is the best, so I just made titanium. I think there's also iridium coils. I think we'll just use the titanium ones. It seems like they are the best because if we go ahead and look at the motors here, there's 4 tiers of motors. There's the normal motor, which is steel and some copper coils. The next tier, the advanced one, takes gold coils. The enhanced one takes aluminum coils with titanium, and then the elite one takes iridium with titanium coils. So I think titanium coils are the best. Unfortunately, we will not be able to make the elite motor as they require dilithium crystals, which you can only get from other planets. So we're going to have to wait on those. So we're going to have to make some enhanced motors. All we're going to need there, titanium rods. We can make that in the metal press or a lathe. Eventually we're going to have a lathe, and I will put all the recipes in there. But for now, we can just use our metal press. Same with titanium plate. You can use any kind of plate machine. And then aluminum coil is just some aluminum. So that's not too bad. But before we do all that, let's go ahead and actually make the precision assembler machine. This is like the brain of it. All this requires is diamond, repeater, machine structure, dropper, furnace, a steel gear, this user interface. It's just some very simple materials right there. A control circuit board, which we have had to make in the past for the ME system. And last, an item IO circuit board, which is just some enhanced circuit boards, circuit board, and printed logic circuits. And that is our precision assembler completed. All right, so let's see. Next up, we need to make those motors. So let's go ahead and do that. And we needed 2 of them, so hopefully I forgot to make some extra aluminum coils. Let's go ahead and do that. That'll be pretty easy. Boom. There we go. And there are our enhanced motors. The next thing we need is a power input plug, an input hatch, and an output hatch. And the input hatch is just a chest and a machine frame. That should be pretty simple. The output hatch is the exact same thing, just flipped around. And then we need a power input plug, which is item battery.0.name and machine frames. These batteries look pretty cheap to make, so that's not too bad. That is an iron rod and some tin and redstone. That is pretty easy to make, and that should be our precision assembler. Yep, let's just build it on the front lawn, and honestly, I think I might just have to make a solar panel and just kind of place it in the middle of my front yard. Or we could run a power cable out from that building to the front yard. I feel like that's a way better idea. And it's going to look really janky, which is exactly the point of putting stuff in the front yard. So, yep, good enough for me. All right, so now we get to figure out exactly how to build this thing. So, shift right click with this. We are looking to make a precision assembler. Ah, and there we go. It goes right there. Okay, that's pretty nice. Let's see. Input hatch looks like it goes right there. Please do not drop it on the ground. Oh, it looks like they can go anywhere. Okay, so let's just put them output, and then power can go right there. We can plug that in. And the machine frames go in the other slots. Ah, makes sense. Put our motors down here. I hope they don't have to be facing a certain way, but I guess we'll find out. Now we grab the thing back out and we scroll. There we go. And then we right click, and that is our precision assembler. Cool. Okie dokie. 7.11 times power. Now, you know what? While we're here, let's actually go test what the best coil is. We have to now break into here and swap out the titanium. Now the titanium we're 7.11. So let's see what this is now. 16! So it looks like iridium coils are the best, and we will be using them for the near future. Now I don't really have to worry about power requirements because we have like a TRF up there, so I don't really care. We can make some circuit plates, data storage, tracking circuit. We can make these circuit boards for cheaper, which is definitely going to happen. And we probably should set up automation for this at some point. Oh, and apparently they can make these circuits here. Probably a lot. Oh yeah, 0 seconds, so that would be a speed up from there, but I don't really think we're going to need that yet. So that is complete. Next thing is the cutting machine. The cutting machine lets you cut things, mostly used by making basic circuits. Okay, so this is what cuts our circuits. So we're going to need to gather some more stuff. We're going to need another motor, our usual input, output, and power, the cutting machine block, which in itself doesn't look to be too bad, another control circuit, another I/O, another user interface, steel, obsidian, and steel gears. That's not so bad. And we are also going to need a saw blade assembly, which is just an iron saw blade. That's not too bad. Plus some more iron components. Alrighty, and there is our cutting machine, plus all the other stuff we're going to need for this. Ta-da! Alright, let's go ahead and grab out our little thing here. Let's go to the front lawn. And let's place this thing down. And there's quite literally only one layer, so that is pretty good. So let's actually go move that a little bit closer to the power. So let's put that like, is that too close? Yes. There we go. Nice. So now we have a cutting machine. Now what can this be used for? Yes, cutting out some circuits, silicone wafers, and you can cut pure Certus quartz into calculation circuits, a block of diamond into engineering, and a block of gold into logic. Okay, yeah, we're definitely going to be setting up these instead of the inscribers that we have, but we'll do that later. All right, cutting machine is now done, and that quest is completed. Next is the crystallizer, used to make various crystals. It looks like we now need some fluid input and output hatches, which is a bucket instead of a chest. We need some quartz crucibles, which is just a cauldron and quartz. And then we need our crystallizer, which is more control circuits, more item IOs, another UI, steel plate, redstone, and quartz. That's not too bad. And there is our crystallizer. Yep, as expected, that was pretty cheap. Oh, we got a little advancement there. Crafted crystallizer. Cool. Oh, that's actually pretty small. Nice. All right, quartz crucibles down, and then right-click on the center of this to make it an actual crystallizer. Very nice. Ah, interesting. So it looks like this can automate celestial crystal clusters. Next up, we have the electric arc furnace, a big multi-block machine that can heat things using a lot of RF. Follow the blueprint provided by the hollow projector to assemble it. There are 11 blocks in total in the structure where input or output hatches can be placed. Otherwise, you'll need to put heat-proof bricks. The requirement on this quest is the minimum of 1 input and 1 output, with the rest being bricks. That's probably fine. So it looks like it isn't super useful, but we are going to go ahead and make it just to have it. All right, so it looks like we just need the electric arc furnace, 81 heat-proof bricks, 3 of coil of our choice, and then 3 power inputs, 1 input, and 1 output. That's not too bad, but what about the heat-proof bricks? How do you get these? Normal bricks, a nether brick, reinforced blast brick, which is steel and brick, nether brick, and blaze powder, and then a magma slime crystal. Why? And there we go. So I'm going to put this one back here because I think this said that it's going to be big. So let's put it like here. Okay, too big, too big. We need to back it up. Boom, boom, boom. And this should be our arc furnace. Very nice. And that is all 4 of these 4, which leads us into the basic circuits. All right, next up, let's just do the lathe and the rolling machine because these are very, very useful because I believe rolling machine will give you metal plates faster and the lathe will give you the rods. And we're definitely going to be setting up a lathe in that building so we can have rods automated because we are going to be needing them in the future. All right, let's do the rolling machine next. Why not? Pretty common stuff here. We need 2 inputs, 2 outputs, some fluid, a power, 2 coils, 1 motor, and the rolling machine block. It's just iron blocks, steel gear, and a liquid IO circuit board, which looks like it's 1K ME fluid storage cells and the tier 3 circuit boards from forestry, or we just use 1 and 3 and 1 in the precision assembly. Let's do that one instead. Ah, very nice. And there we have our rolling machine controller. And there we have the rest of the stuff. Nice. So let's go ahead and get this built. And there we have the machine structure. Now, the quest book did not mention I needed 3 steel blocks, and it got the motor and the copper coil backwards. But that's fine. We now have the rolling machine. Now, let's actually go ahead and turn this on and see what this thing actually does. You can make plates with a lubricant. Why would you do that? I don't know. Looks like this is the only way to make iron sheets, so that's probably going to be important. Same for copper sheets. Same for titanium sheets and steel sheets. Yep. Okay, so it looks like this is just used for making sheets or plates if you're stupid. But you also need to make tanks here, which is pretty nice. So that's probably what we'll end up using this for. All right, last thing on the multi-blocks, at least for now, is the lathe. Simple machine that makes rods more efficiently. Consider making it early so everything is cheaper. Yep, that's exactly what we're doing. This is pretty straightforward. 1 motor, power input, normal output, and the multi-block itself is some steel components. That's not too bad. And there we have our lathe. Click, and there is our lathe. Let's get that plugged in. And there we go. Now we should be able to make rods a lot cheaper, which is good because we need more specifically titanium. Instead of 1 to 2, it's 1 to 8. Same with steel, same with copper, same with all these other ones. These are going to be very useful because I now no longer have to set up a immersive engineering plate presser. I can just use this, which is great. Alrighty, and with that, that is all 6 of these multi-blocks done. Next stop, basic circuits. Basic circuits are an essential crafting component made using the crystallizer, cutting machine, and precision assembler. To make basic circuit, you need to make some silicon in your electric arc furnace, turn it into a boule in the crystallizer, and then cut it into wafers using the cutting machine. Assemble them with the required components in the assembler, and finally cut the result in the cutting machine. That sounds like a process, but I don't think it's too difficult. I think it's just make one thing, put it here, put it here, put it here, put it here. I'm just going to go ahead and mark everything that we need on the left here, and then we can follow the process. So to get these circuits, we need the circuit plates. Circuit plates you get from the precision assembler. Silicon wafer is going to be the hardest part. The electron tube, that's pretty easy. You just need apatite and redstone. The iron grinding ball, you just need conductive iron, which I believe we actually have a recipe for this. Next part is the silicon wafer, which we acquire from a silicon boule. The silicon boule is acquired by putting a silicon of any kind inside of the crystallizer. And I know for a fact we have a recipe for silicon because we have to use it for a whole bunch of things already. We also have 40 pieces of nuclear craft silicon, and I believe that will also work. So why don't we just go ahead and put all 40 of those pieces into our crystallizer. Okay, this is a pretty cool animation right here. I am a big fan of this. Now this looks like it's going to take a while, so I probably could speed this up, or I could just let it sit here for a little bit. I'm fairly certain, yeah, 1x speed, you can't speed these up, so we'll just have to wait. All right, well, that took a long time, but there is our silicon boules. Now we need to put these into the cutting machine and cut them at 1 to 4. You know, I will say, Advanced Rocketry, it does have the coolest animations. That one did not take too long. There we go, 2.5 stacks of silicon wafers. This is probably way more than I'm ever going to need, but that's okay. So now we take these, put them in the precision assembler with apatite electron tubes and some conductive iron grinding balls. Let's go ahead and make those. We could also use intricate circuit boards and redstone alloy grinding balls. Oh no, that's to make the advanced ones. Ooh. Okay, you know what? Let's split this in half, and then we'll do half for the first one and half for the second one, because I don't know how many advanced circuits we're also going to need. Boom, boom, and boom. And we put the rest in Unfortunately, this doesn't really have an animation, probably because it's going so fast. I bet it does, but I've just like cranked this thing to basically max speed off rip, so yeah, oh well. And it looks like the basic circuit plates and the silicon wafers have nearly the same texture, which is a little bit annoying, but that should be our basic circuit plates. There are only two things we can make with these, a tracking circuit and of course the basic circuits we need. If I need a tracking circuit, I'll just come back and make some more. So let's go shove these into the cutting machine here and make some circuits. And we got a whole bunch of these, and it looks like there were so many that it filled up the output before it was even done. So I think like 5 stacks of these basic circuits is probably going to be more than enough. All right, anyways, let's go ahead and claim that quest. The next step is going to be the advanced ones, which leads us down to the space station assembler. Should we go this way or should we go towards making our rocket first? Well, I mean, the advanced circuits aren't really that difficult because we just saw the recipe. The redstone alloy looks to be pretty easy. It's just silicon and redstone. And then, of course, the intricate circuit boards. Ugh, these are super annoying to make, but we only need a stack in 16, so I guess I could probably go ahead and make a whole bunch of these advanced circuits. Alrighty, we are back. I have almost completed everything we need to make the intricate circuit boards. Now, I did just kind of cannibalize one of my advanced carpenters up here. Originally, these two were supposed to be used for stellar alloy and the draconium stuff, but like, this is a lot faster than the other one, so I put water in here and kind of cannibalized it. Anyways, we put those into there, and we should be making our intricate circuit boards. Very nice. And then all we have to do is put those intricate circuit boards into the assembler with our grinding balls and the wafers, and then we should have some advanced circuit plates. Run those into the cutter, and we're good. Out comes the advanced circuit plates, and into this it goes. Now that's probably going to take a little while, but we can go ahead and grab 12 of them out just to get that quest completed. Very nice. All right, so now our next two steps are either going to be we build the space station assembler, which we can't do because we have to build a rocket first. So I guess that's what we're doing. Next up, the electrolyzer. The electrolyzer is a machine that uses RF to turn water into hydrogen and oxygen. Both of these fluids are needed later to make rocket fuel, as well as to be able to breathe in space. Real question, do you need to have this kind of oxygen, or can you use any kind of oxygen? Because we may not actually need this machine if we can use the oxygen from Mekanism, because that's a lot more simple to make. But we're going to make this anyway. All we need is a coil block, 2 plugs, 1 fluid input, 2 fluid outputs, 2 machine structures, and the electrolyzer block itself, which takes control circuit, liquid I/O circuit, user interface, and then 2 of those basic circuits that we just made. And here we have our electrolyzer. Very nice. Let's go ahead and build this thing on the front lawn as we are putting basically everything else. And that should be everything. Nice. All right, we can go ahead and turn that on. Looks like we have 2x speed, which is pretty good. Power input goes right there. Let me go ahead and actually grab some cables. Now this is one of those things where it has multiple power inputs, so we do want to have both. And now all we have to do is run water into the fluid input, which is right here. And there we go. Water should be going into there. It should be electrolyzing, and then we have hydrogen and oxygen. All right, let's go ahead and claim that. Next step is we can either do the rocket assembling machine or a gas charge pad. The gas charge pad is a simple machine that can fill items with hydrogen or oxygen without using RF. Simply pipe the gas in and insert any container you want. Standing on top of it with a spacesuit chest piece with a tank installed or a chest piece enhanced with airtight seal equipped will fill it with oxygen. This is required to not die when on a planet with no atmosphere.
That's probably a good idea.
Let's go ahead and do the gas charge pad and the spacesuit next, and then we can start working on the rocket stuff. Gas charge pad doesn't look to be too bad. It's just 2 steel fans. That's probably just steel. Yep. Monopropellant fuel tank. This is not too bad. The steel sheet, though, we're probably going to have to get lubricant. Yeah. Okay. This is going to be a huge process, so we don't need to do it just yet, but we will, because we are going to need these fuel tanks to, actually build a rocket. And there it is. Not too bad at all. Claim that. Next up is the actual spacesuit. You'll need a spacesuit or an otherwise airtight armor set to survive in space. The real question is, does this count as airtight? I have no idea how to check other than going into space and taking off my spacesuit. So yeah, we'll probably not be doing that. All right, we need some wool, some glass, some iron materials. We need another fuel tank to make the spacesuit chest piece, as well as another steel fan, wool and iron rod, and then wool and iron materials. Okay, so that isn't actually too bad. That is a pretty cheap recipe. There's our helmet, chest piece, leggings, and boots. That was pretty easy. Very nice. Claim. Next up is the suit workstation. Various spacesuit parts can be modified in this station. You can add things like a jetpack and padding to boots. And there we go, suit workstation. Very nice. Now, I am probably going to be modifying my spacesuit, so let me just grab a chest real quick and we can go see what this is about. Can I put this in here? No. Can I put this in here? I can, and there's 4 slots available. So we need to figure out what the modules are. All right, quick Google search later. It looks like all of the modifications are right over here. So start off with our helmet. There are certain visors you can find. A beacon finder, I think you can put down beacons on other planets, and this lets you see them. The Earthbright visor doesn't actually have a crafting recipe, and I can't find anything about it anyways, so we're just not going to worry about that. And the anti-fog visor lets you see on foggy planets. I suppose we can go ahead and make one of these. It doesn't look to be too bad. Let's go ahead and bookmark that. The next thing we can make is an atmospheric analyzer, which lets you analyze the atmosphere. We will just have the anti-fog visor and the atmospheric analyzer. That should be fine. All right, chest piece is next. Now, the wiki says you can put a jetpack and pressure tanks on there. So let's put suit jetpack, and we want the super high pressure tanks. The suit jetpack uses any kind of tank to craft, so we'll probably make the low ones. Fortunately, we can't do that because we need lubricant, and that's a big process, which we are going to do, but not yet. Let's just get everything else first. The legs, it says you can put on bionic leg upgrades, which we need a motor, any kind, and a control circuit, and this increases your run speed. So let's just put 4 bionic legs on here. They are not too bad to make. All right, there's our 4 bionic legs, and let's just put all of them on there, and I am curious about how fast I go. So here is normal running speed. This is the quantum suit running speed. And this is the spacesuit running speed. Whoa! Okay, yeah, this is a lot faster. Nice! And the boots, I believe there's only one thing that you can put on your boots, and that would be padded landing boots. That just negates fall damage. We're definitely going to be making that because I'm probably going to be falling very far. And there we have it. I don't think we need more than one, so we'll just put on the 1. Very nice. All right, so that is everything upgraded except for the spacesuit chest piece. All right, I think now that that's mostly upgraded, we're going to be moving on to getting rocket assembling machine and building a rocket, mostly because the rocket fuel will be making us build a distillation tower and a pump jack anyways, so once we have this done, we can go ahead and upgrade our spacesuit. Rocket assembling machine is a multi-block structure that allows you to make rockets. Wow, no way. Okay, makes sense. Understood. Launch pads. That should not be any concern to us, even though they are rather cheap. Yep, it's just dies and concrete. We have a whole bunch already from opening quest rewards, so let's just go ahead and grab all of them out of here. Stack and a half? Yeah, that's probably fine. Now, I am setting this up in the front yard currently just to test things. Obviously, we're not going to be launching from the front yard. We're going to be launching from our launch site, but it's nice to set things up early so we understand how they work. All right, next up, we need some structure towers. That's just steel rods. That's pretty easy. Next up, we need a fueling station. That doesn't look to be too bad. And then we need the rocket assembling machine. Ah, yes, this is where things are going to get rather expensive. And now we should be able to actually assemble this launching pad. Let's find out. And there we go. We got everything plugged in, placed down, linked together, and this is a successful and, actually active multi-block structure. Very nice. So that is our launch pad. Let's claim that quest. Next up is actually building a rocket, I believe. Well, let's go ahead and take a look. Building a rocket. Oh my god, there's so much reading, dude. So the seat we already have. We have 1 fuel tank, although we probably will be needing to make more. We need a monopropellant rocket engine, and it looks like there are upgraded ones. I'm only going to need the 1, so that's what we're going to do. We're just going to have 1, and that is going to be good enough. So let's go ahead and place that down. And it looks like I actually need to make the smaller one for the quest to consider itself completed. So I guess we'll have to make some titanium plates. Next up, we need a planet ID chip. That's just a satellite ID chip, which is a basic circuit, and then 2 basic circuits on top of that. That's that part done. And the last part we need is the guidance computer. Guidance computer. Oh boy. We need a titanium plate, machine structure, and some tracking circuits, which means we're going to need a basic circuit, an eye vendor, and some redstone. Now, it is a good thing that I kept some silicon wafers because we actually need the uncut version, so that's great. Guidance computer. Just like that. Nice. Claim. Oh, right, so the next thing we need to do is fuel the rocket. Your rocket needs fuel to work. The following liquids are viable rocket fuels. Rocket fuel, refined fuel, pyrotheum, neutron, UU matter, and liquid starlight. So here's the interesting part about that. I have some of those liquids. I don't know what their thrust capabilities are, and I don't know if that is going to work out. So I think what we should do is we should probably hop into the creative testing world and just dump those liquids in and then see how far we can get. But before we do that, let's just put down what we have and then see what happens, right? Oh, that's pretty cool. Look at this little scan thing that's going on here. I hit the scan button and now we're just looking. This is pretty cool. Is this a legitimate rocket? Not enough fuel capacity. Okay, so we're going to need to make another monopropellant fuel tank. And the only thing we're limited on is steel sheets, which means we need lubricant, which means we need a distillation tower, and crude oil, which means we need to set up pump jack. Why don't I go figure out how to build that pump jack, how to build that distillation tower, and then we can go set that up to grab lubricant and to make rocket fuel. Materials have been gathered for the distillation tower and the pump jack. And now we're back out here in the desert right next to the nuclear craft building. Back out to where I was drilling core samples way back in the day. This was like the first 5 or 10 episodes. I'm pretty sure I found an oil reservoir somewhere. Yes, here we go. 12 million millibuckets of crude oil, which is exactly what we need to build our pump jack. So let's go ahead and put on the pump jack in the book, craft that with our projector, and then we shall be able to right click this anywhere into the chunk. Right there works just fine, and then we can build this thing. And there is our pump jack. Now, of course, I need to go grab the little hammer and hit it with the hammer. And there we have it. Pump jack. All right, now this obviously isn't going to work because A, we don't have power, and B, we need to actually drill a pipe all the way down to bedrock, I believe right there. Boom, boom. Okay, pipes have been connected. They did just change texture, so that's good. Hopefully this thing is working. Looks like it is. It is in fact pumping. And there we go. As you can see, crude oil is being pumped into the tank. Perfect. So now what we need to do with that crude oil is run it into a distillation tower. That will give us a whole bunch of different liquids, such as gasoline, diesel, and lubricant. The lubricant is the thing that we actually want because then we can make the metal plates. Just put it maybe, I don't know, right here. That seems like a pretty good idea. And there we go, building completed. Now all we need to do is find the hammer point here to actually hit it with a hammer. There we go. Distillation tower. I don't know why this bug happens. There you go. It looks like this thing has in fact turned on and probably will be outputting just like that. Now we are going to need to grab 3 fluid tanks and a chest. I don't know where this bitumen is coming from. It's right there from the sand. So let's just grab a chest. It will automatically output into one. We already have a good 18 bitumen though, which is pretty good. And let's go ahead and put these portable tanks down there, and there. And then we can run some fluid cables like that. So this one looks like it's got the lubricant, this one has the diesel, and this one will have the gasoline. There we go. So the first thing we're obviously going to do is we're going to grab this lubricant tank here, and we are going to go over and make some sheets. Most importantly, steel sheets, because we need steel sheets to make the monopropellant fuel tank. So let's grab some steel sheets and we can pipe the lubricant into our rolling machine here. Where is our rolling machine? It's right here. We can go ahead and make some monopropellant fuel tanks. Let's just make 10 more. I don't know how many more we're going to need, but we have 10 now, so hopefully that'll be fine. Now let's continue to increase the jank of our rocket, and I think I'm just going to, 5 fuel tanks, and then the guidance computer, and then the seat. That is what... Jeez. Oh my god. Okay. Go ahead and scan that monstrosity there. Is that too far up? I feel like, yeah, we might need to add some more scaffolding there. Clear for liftoff. Wow. Okay. That's kind of pathetic. I won't lie. That looks so bad. But I don't really care. If you put in different fuels, does it actually make a difference here? Or can you literally use anything? I'm not really sure. I guess let's go find out. All right, a little bit of testing and a little bit of research has been done. And what I've discovered, if you check the advanced rocketry config file, it will tell you the rocket fuel types and the multiplier. So as you can see, rocket fuel, refined fuel, and pyrotheum, they have a multiplier of 2. Liquid starlight has a 1.33, and UU matter has a 0.25 multiplier. Now, just doing a little bit of testing in a creative world by flying a rocket from Earth to Earth, I had, I think, about 1/4 of a tank left of the normal rocket fuel. And then when I used liquid starlight, I had a little over half. And then UU matter, I had basically the entire tank left. With that being said, UU matter is the best rocket fuel because you can make multiple trips off of a single tank. So basically, I just made all of that rocket fuel oil distillation tower for basically no reason other than to make the fuel tanks. UU matter obviously is the most expensive liquid on that chart, but if we head back over to our industrial craft area, you will know that we do have this 64,000 millibucket tank of the stuff that we just kind of have sitting here, so I'm not really too worried about using this. Honestly, with that being done and figured out, we can detect and submit the rocket fuels because we will be using UU matter, and that's basically all that we can do now besides launching to another planet. Now, the original plan for the advanced rocketry stuff was to get as much done on the quest tree as we could in the first episode, get the rocket ready, and then end the episode. I think we are going to take a little bit of things from the planned second episode and put them here, and then we'll do all of this stuff for actual like space adventures in the second episode. So this episode, I think what we're going to do now is we are going to get everything ready to go to another planet. We are going to need a way to mine all the materials. We are going to need a way to get there and get back if we need to without using the rocket. I think I'm going to go with some kind of teleporter. I know Mekanism has one because I used the teleporter frames in the modular machinery building, so I could figure out how to do this. Astral Sorcery also has one. We might as well knock out the Mekanism quest tree. There's not much left to do here. The thermal evaporation plant we've already built. We just need to get some more thermal evaporation blocks. There you go, that's completed. We also need to craft ultimate tier installers, which are also in themselves pretty cheap. We need to build the fusion reactor. We don't actually have to build it, we just have to build the things to make it. The reactor frames themselves are just rather expensive with steel casings and atomic alloy. That's pretty easy. The reactor controller is just some reactor frames, ultimate gas tank, and a fusion core, which we have built a fusion core before. We could just take it from the nuclear craft chest or just make another one. Reactor port, same thing, pretty easy, and the laser focus matrix is just reactor glass and a redstone block. So let's just go ahead and make all these and get this out of the way. And there we have the last thing we need for the reactor. Very nice. Next up on the Mekanism tree, we've got the quantum entangleporter. These are basically just wireless power and everything transfer. Has a limit of 25 MRF per tick, which is not too bad, but it is slightly limited. The hardest part about this is going to be the dragon hearts. And there we have a quantum entangleporter. Now, unfortunately, these are only useful in pairs because, you know, one for input and one for output, but that is okay. At least we have one for now. If we ever end up needing more, I know where to go. Now we can move on to the thing that I actually wanted out of the Mekanism tree before I got sidetracked and just completed it. The digital miner. This is an extremely powerful mining machine, as it says up there. You can tell it to mine ore, and it will just do it. This is going to be very, very useful specifically for mining rare ores on other planets. Instead of having to mine it myself, I can set up the digital miner to only mine said ores, and then it will just mine all of them. And that's what we're going to do. We are going to be bringing this thing along with us when we go to the new planets. And there we go. We have to move the teleporters into position as well as the final thing in the middle, the Robot. I know I have a Robot around here somewhere, so let's go find it. I think it was a quest reward or something, so it's going to be in one of these chests around here. Here you are, Mr. Robot. Good thing I saved you. You will have a glorious purpose of being turned into a digital miner. That is now the Mekanism quest tree completed, and I accidentally just opened one of the loot boxes and got a free holo projector. Cool. I don't need that anymore. Okay, the next thing that we need to do, honestly, that putting a chest right in front of the launch pad, getting everything ready to launch, that's kind of just a good idea. So why don't we just go prepare everything that we're going to bring to the moon right now? The main important things that we need is our spacesuit. Our helmet is completely done, so we can put that in there. Our chest piece, on the other hand, is not, because we needed to put the upgrades in our chest piece. So why don't we go ahead and make those upgrades now that we actually have the ability to make plates. There we go. Now we need to put some oxygen tanks on this thing, so let's go ahead and make the super high pressure ones. We need titanium sheets, which means we need a titanium plate in there. The real question is, can I put more than these two in here? Because if I can put like 6, then we'll never have to worry about breathing again. Boom, 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 boom. I can. Okay. Very nice. You know, now that I think about it, if I can in fact fly on other planets, we really don't need this jetpack. In you go. Whatever. I'm just going to assume that the angel ring works. If it doesn't, it's just going to suck. We're going to have to walk. There we go, and that should be pretty good for the chest plate. Very nice. We know we have the legs and boots completed already, so we can go ahead and put them in as well. We are going to need to breathe, so we need to put a gas charge pad in there. We need oxygen for it, and I've got a rather genius idea for that, and it involves making a resonant portable tank and then just filling it with oxygen. Now, I did test. We can use other forms of oxygen. We can use the Mekanism stuff. That does work, but honestly, we may as well use the electrolyzer since we did build it. We will put the tank of that right next to the gas charging pad, and I guess we could leave some cables in there as well just so we can actually take it out. Digital miner. Let's go ahead and place this down real quick. And let's go ahead and get this thing fully upgraded here. And with full energy upgrades, this thing takes 1.2 KRF. So that is exactly 2 RTGs worth of power, which we can place one on each side. So I'm not really worried about that. Let's set up the config with the radius. See, now this is the thing that we want to increase. So with radius of 32, that did increase the power to 2.4 KRF. That's still fine. That's 3 or 4 RTGs. Not really worried about that. We will consider that to be good enough. The next thing we need to bring is the teleporter. Let me go do some research on the Mekanism teleporter, and then I will get that built. We'll test it out, and then I'll bring all the necessary materials to actually do that. All right, so the teleporter in multiblock itself isn't actually that complicated to build, so I'm just going to go build it on the front yard again. All right, there is a reason that the crafting recipe for the teleporter frames gives you 9, because that's exactly how many you need to actually make the thing. There you go. Set frequency, 0. It supports an anchor upgrade, so we can put that on there. This basically keeps the thing chunk loaded. The teleporters have to be chunk loaded at all times for them to function, so we are going to have to put these on all of our teleporters, which is fine. That's not too bad. Okay, now the real question is power usage. I don't know how much power they use, so we're just going to kind of put an RTG on there and assume that it's going to be fine. Why don't I just go make another one, and then we'll just go set it up somewhere. The most useless teleporter known to man, but at least we will know if it works. Set the frequency to 0, because that is what we have. There we go. Now, these should be linked once they fill up with power. Yep, there we go. So it looks like once it's full, it will teleport, and it looks like they are linked together. So let's see. This one has 2 MRF. We go through it. We get instantly teleported, and now how much power did it take? Basically nothing. Okay, so we basically just slap an RTG under the portal, and then we will be fine. Now, let me actually check if that does work real quick. It does. All right, yep, we will just be slapping an RTG under each of the portals we build, and then that will be no problem there. All right, well, that's pretty good. We're going to have to build 1 teleporter per planet if we want to do that. And I'm thinking underneath our launch site, we could have some super secret futuristic room, black and green color scheme that has all the teleporters to get to the different planets. Now, speaking of the launch site, since we now have technically everything that we need in order to get to the moon, I think the last thing that we should do this episode is actually build the launch site. The original plan was to do that next episode after we had launched to the moon and gathered materials from there, but honestly, I'm kind of excited to just build a launch site. So I'm thinking we're going to put it maybe like here. We might want to expand the desert. We just kind of keep it going this way and just turn the rest of this into sand. I think that looked the best. And then we can, kind of clean up the area over there and then put a big launch site right there. And there we have it. The launch site has been constructed for the most part. A couple things I want to say about this launch site before we hop into the server and actually get the materials for this. First one being, you've probably saw in the time lapse that these aren't actually completed. I'm just going to do that on the actual server because it is going to be difficult to, copy paste that much. I barely was able to get this slab of land copied. That's how big these things are. So I feel like I'm going to have to copy these in sets of 3. One for the rocket housing, one for the actual rocket, and then the third one for the runway. Another thing to point out, in the time lapse, you couldn't really see this very well, but in here I added a little bit of scaffolding. This is to hold the rocket when it isn't about to launch, and honestly I think it looks pretty good. We've also got, as you can see, a nice little elevator shaft that you can go all the way up and down from here. A little thing that I noticed while I was building this, you can actually climb up scaffolding, so this also works as like a staircase, which, I think that's pretty cool. Last but not least, you were not able to see this in the time lapse because, it was underneath stuff, but if we come down here, I did add some purple fire here at the bottom. Eventually, once this is all done, there's going to be a big hole in the ground right here, so you should be able to run underneath and see that fire once this is all done. All right, I think that is about it, so why don't we go ahead and get this copied over and then check the materials, because I bet this is going to be very expensive, specifically the aluminum. The aluminum is going to be probably the most annoying part because these scaffolding here, they take aluminum rods. So we're probably going to go ahead and set up automation for the lathe so we can just, autocraft however many of these scaffolding that we need. All right, I'll get this copied over and then we will hop back on the server and see exactly how much this is going to cost. Blueprints have been copied over. Let's go ahead and take a look at the material list. 1,800 aluminum scaffolding. That's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And this is for the actual gantry, so that's not too bad. Also, 550 aluminum sheet metal, that's not too bad either. No, I've not got my Cape Cod built, bruh. Yep, and the rest of this stuff, it looks to be pretty simple. We also need 1,203 chiseled obsidian, that is fine. We have, I think 600,000 now from our void miner, and the rest of this isn't too bad. The wither dust block is probably going to be the hardest out of all of this, mostly because it takes wither dust, which you have to get from wither bones. I think I have enough wither bones, but I'm not really sure. Next one is the actual runways. The hardest part here is going to be the concrete, and I say that like the concrete is difficult. It's literally just one piece of gravel, one piece of sand, and a water bucket. Last but not least, we have the rocket hangar. We need 1,000 more scaffolding, nearly 1,000 aluminum sheet metal, a bunch of block of black iron, more concrete, some iron sheet metal, marble, sooty marble, and sooty marble. So it's basically just a lot of marble for that one, and that's not going to be too bad either. As you can see, we have 1.2 million marble right there, and we have 350,000 obsidian. So it looks like I was off on the obsidian, but hey, that's still plenty. All right, materials have been gathered, land has been cleared. Let's go ahead and actually place this down. As you can see, it's going right here. It is a little close to the floating islands right here, and I did not really think that through very much, but I think it'll be fine. Whatever. It's pretty far away, right? Well, it's fine. It's a launch site. It's supposed to be large. That makes sense, right? Let me get pretty far away here, and here we go. Very nice. Now, it is very dark in here, and I probably should have thought of that. Oh well, maybe I'll add some glass up there. That's probably what I'll end up doing, but I'll do that later. Next up, let's do the runway. That was a pretty quick build. And finally, let's go ahead and place in the actual rocket. Boom! Very nice. Now all we have left to do is we need to build the little tunnel thingy right there, which acts as the exhaust vent for when the rocket actually starts going off. We need to add in the eyes to the insignias here. I need to add a ladder system into here. There is a scaffold covered ladder, which basically just puts a ladder on the inside of a scaffolding block. So that's probably what I'm going to put right here so we can actually get up to the gantry right here. I'll go ahead and put that in as well, and then maybe I'll get some glass on the roof there so we can actually see what we're doing. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, get this all tidied up, cut back, and then I think that will be it for this episode. So let me go get this tidied up. And there we have it. Modifications have been completed. We have the exhaust vents put in. This took quite a bit of concrete, but it is done. You can go all the way underneath and you can see the rocket powering up. That is complete. I also went ahead and added a couple pieces of glass up at the top of the hangar here so we can actually, see what we're doing in there. And I installed the eyes to the insignias and, of course, put in the ladder. Fortunately, kind of difficult to climb it from the bottom here. You kind of have to, precisely jump, but oh well. At least it is functional. Alrighty. Honestly, I think with that all being completed, that is going to be it for this episode. Got a whole bunch of advanced rocketry stuff done, got all of the basic machines built and put on the front lawn. We got a rocket, we got it fueled up, and of course, we built the first part of the launch site. So I think the next episode we are going to launch straight over to the moon. We are going to continue working down the quest tree. The main reason we're going to the moon, after all, is to get dilithium, which is required to build the majority of this stuff here. Then we can set up a nice little portal network so we can actually access the moon without having to fly there every now and again. Plus, we will be building a building to put all those portals in, and then maybe another building to store some of the machines from the mod right near the launch site area. Probably right here or right there, depending on whatever looks the best. That's going to be it for this episode. Next episode, we are launching to a new planet, so you all can look forward to that. Goodbye.